What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wrestling City, and today we're going to be reacting to another video from Tap Out Corner, and this one is titled "The 10 Times WWE Wrestlers Were Forced to Break Character." So, obviously, this has happened a few times throughout history where most likely an injury or some other unplanned moment forced a wrestler to break either what was on the script or what their character would usually do. I expect maybe Undertaker to have a moment on this because breaking character was a big thing that he tried not to do. But besides that, I'm not really sure what else is going to be on there. So let's hop right into it.
These wrestlers were put in difficult situations that forced them to break character.
That was
While
planned,
WWE
but
and the Attitude Era usually got all the credit for pushing the envelope, ECW was the one who really got it started. The Philadelphia-based company featured extreme violence and edgy storylines, and for the most part, the fans ate it up. However, there was one moment that went too far and forced a wrestler to break character. In 1996, Raven and the Sandman were having a personal feud. Raven brainwashed Sandman's son and turned him against his own father. However, the moment that crossed the line happened at an event called High Incident. During the show, Raven and his goons crucified Sandman, putting him on a cross and laying a crown made of barbed wire on his head. The fans became very quiet, as most were upset and uncomfortable with the blatant reference to the crucifixion of Jesus. Even some wrestlers backstage were mad at what had been done. Raven was then ordered to go back out to the ring and apologize, forcing him to break character in the process.
Apparently, Todd Gordon and Paul Heyman, by acting without their knowledge, are offended at my use of religious iconography. And apparently I've offended quite a few people in the audience. Well, you people chose to respect Scott Levy's privacy when I needed a personal time, and so I choose to respect your privacy and your religious beliefs. And so for the people who I deeply offended, I apologize.
wow, man, that is crazy. Obviously, I know that moment. It's the thing that it's most known for is apparently Kurt Angle was in the crowd, and when he was deciding, first starting as a pro wrestler from you going from amateur wrestling, he was deciding what company he wanted to join, and this made him so disgusted that he left the arena after this happened, and basically that's what made him for sure not join ECW. But I have not seen that after where he comes out and apologizes, basically ruining the credibility or seriousness of that situation. But for legal reasons, I totally understand why he did it.
Other incidents that can cause wrestlers to break character is when there's a threat
Yep.
of physical harm. During a non-televised WWE event in 1998, Triple H took on Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin had just hit Triple H with a Stone Cold Stunner when a fan jumped into the ring and ran at Austin. Triple H immediately broke character by no-selling Austin's finisher and protecting his opponent. Triple H taught the intruder a lesson he would never forget.
The
And once
referee
security took the
hopped
man
in.
away, Triple H got back into character. The Undertaker is famous for almost never breaking character, especially in the ring. However, there have been a few situations where the dead man was forced to.
Yep.
During the 2010 Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, there was a malfunction during the Undertaker's entrance, and he was engulfed in flames. Since he didn't want to become a real dead man, Taker broke from his usual entrance and ran towards the ring. In a more hilarious moment, the Undertaker actually went off script and attacked his own tag team partner.
Ooh.
Shortly after the Big Show made his WWE debut, the world's largest athlete formed a tag team with The Undertaker. Behind the scenes, Taker acted as a mentor to Big Show and tried to help the Giant's career. However, Big Show did not always listen, which caused The Undertaker to get frustrated with him. It came to a boiling point at SummerSlam 1999. While in a tag team match, the Big Show deliberately went against what The Undertaker had told him. The dead man lost it and slapped Big Show to get his attention. Like I said though, it was usually only serious situations that Undertaker broke character. The Over the Edge 1999 pay-per-view is infamous for being the event where Owen Hart fell to his death in a stunt gone wrong. The show continued though, and The Undertaker competed in the main event. Taker soldiered on, but fans could see the Phenom getting emotional as he was preparing for his match, a rare side of Undertaker that fans normally would never see. Another very serious moment would happen.
Of course, man. Owen Hart, rest in peace. Now, whether it was right for them to continue the event after this happened in the middle of the show, I could understand both sides. maybe Owen Hart would have wanted it to go on, but at the same time, man, somebody just passed away, died in the middle of the ring during the show. All the people that were competing after him were his friends, people that knew him in real life, his coworkers. So unfortunate situation, but it's crazy to see Undertaker in a to give that away, that real life side of him.
During a live broadcast of WCW Nitro. During the show, Raven and Canyon were set to take on the Mexican luchadors Villano 4 and 5. Only 30 seconds into the match, Raven and Canyon set Villano 5 up for a powerbomb neckbreaker combo. However, the timing was off, which caused Villano to land on the back of his head. Raven instantly knew what was wrong and broke character. Raven stayed by his opponent's side and helped stabilize Villano's neck. He remained there until trainers arrived and were able to take over. The injury not only threatened Villano's career, but also his life. Because of Raven's quick thinking, Villano covered and returned to the ring about 2 years after the accident.
Wow, Raven seems like a very good person. I've heard stuff about him outside the ring with the fans not being very cool, but that man, shout out to him for that. He knew he was hurt and he made sure to take care of him. The life of that wrestler was more important than him going over in that match.
One of the most infamous main events in wrestling history belongs to Jeff Hardy versus Sting at TNA Victory Road 2011. Hardy walked to the ring intoxicated and under the influence of drugs. Because backstage personnel hadn't seen Jeff Hardy until right before he was supposed to make his entrance, they didn't know he was in no state to wrestle. This forced TNA to go off script and get Jeff Hardy out of there as safely and as quickly as possible. Before the bell was run, TNA executive producer and on-screen authority figure Eric Bischoff came out to the ring. While he made it seem like it was part of the show, Bischoff was actually telling Jeff Hardy and Sting what the new plan was. Despite what Bischoff had told him, Jeff Hardy tried to kick out of Sting's cover. Thankfully, it didn't work, and the main event was over in under 2 minutes. One of the worst reasons for wrestlers to break character is when they're getting legitimately mad at each other.
Ooh.
That's unfortunately what happened when two female wrestlers, Rachel Ellering and Christy Janes, had a match. It started off sloppy, with some moves looking awkward. As the match wore on though, it appeared that there was tension between Ellering and Janes. Finally, at some point, the two just stopped wrestling and began staring at each other. When Rachel Ellering tried to start wrestling again, Christy Janes no-sold a kick, making things even worse. Even the fans could tell something was wrong. Finally, Rachel Ellering told her opponent to pin her. Within seconds, the match was over, and Ellering left the ring immediately. This isn't the only time Rachel Ellering broke character during a match either. While competing in Japan, Ellering was taking on a wrestler named Konami. After going at it for a few minutes, Konami began hitting Rachel with a series of kicks to the head. If they look and sound real, that's because they were. Rachel Ellering became enraged and let everyone know it. Ellering then drove her knee into Konami's ribs while going for the pin and ended.
I wonder why we have not heard of this Rachel Ellering person. I mean, if somebody in WWE sees this, or even AEW, TNA, if you see how this girl acts in this, you're not going to want to sign her. So it's honestly doing her a lot more long-term damage than anybody else she's competing with. Yeah, man. I mean, that's why she hasn't been signed, I guess, right?
By saying this to her opponent. This next wrestler didn't just break character, he absolutely destroyed it. In 2013, Jack Swagger returned to WWE. He was now accompanied by a manager named Zeb Coulter, and they called themselves Real Americans. They began expressing strong anti-immigration beliefs, and in particular, targeted the Mexican World Heavyweight Champion, Alberto Del Rio. This storyline drew criticism from conservative political commentators, including Glenn Beck. The backlash WWE was getting was so hot that they decided to do this.
Hey, Glenn Beck, what you just saw is what we call a promo. It's a scene we record to elicit a positive or negative reaction from our fans. See, we are entertainers.
My name is Jake Hager.
And I'm Wayne Cowan. We are performers for WWE. Zeb Coulter is the character I play. Jack Swagger is the character Jake plays. Everything we do as our characters is designed to tell stories. Right now, the story we're telling is that Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger are using the current, relevant, and topical story of immigration to target the WWE World Champion Alberto Del Rio. Also a character played by my friend Jose Rodriguez. In our story, we are the antagonist, and Alberto is the protagonist.
During the main event of a 2015 episode of Raw, John Cena found himself in a 3-on-1 handicap match against Seth Rollins, The Big Show, and Kane. Triple H was watching ringside, but had a hard time focusing when an 8-year-old boy kept chanting his name. Fitting with his villainous character, Triple H yelled at the boy to stop. This caused the young fan to start crying, so Triple H decided to break character. The King of Canes consoled the 8-year-old and let the child know he wasn't really that mean. The game even invited the young fan backstage and gave him some free WWE merch. Even when wrestlers do interviews outside of WWE, they still maintain a bit of the illusion. It's very rare to hear a wrestler admit wrestling is scripted, but that's exactly what Edge said. During the Attitude Era, the Radar Superstar was on a talk show when a fan called in saying he felt WWE went too far when The Undertaker cut his wrists on Monday Night Raw. This is what Edge told the fan.
If you look at The Undertaker, how is he any different than Darth Vader?
Oh, true.
Darth Vader's hand was cut off in a movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is just...
Again, so how is it any different?
Hollywood effects.
Though, eh?
How is it any different, though? Because it was just special effects. I can compare it directly to Darth Vader because Darth Vader had his hand cut off in a movie.
I remember.
But were you disturbed by that?
No.
Well, then why would you be disturbed by this?
This was real life.
No, it's not real life. It's sports entertainment. If you think it's real life, then you should sit down and talk to your children, and maybe you have some figuring out to do, too.
Don't get the Edge mad.
Oh, no. It was just a thing that caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting.
Okay, but it's not real life, and you need to realize that, too.
What was even more shocking was Edge breaking character while in a WWE ring. 8 days after he successfully defended the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 27, Edge announced live on Raw that he had to retire. To help explain why he had to, Edge broke character and revealed the hard truth about WWE.
A lot of people think that the WWE doesn't hurt, that what we do, maybe it's done with smoke and mirrors, and I wish that were true. But anybody in that locker room, anybody who has ever stepped foot in here, laced up a pair of boots, they know that's not the case.
One simple but important unwritten rule in wrestling is that you never tell a wrestler with more experience than you how a match is going to go. It's seen as disrespectful, which was especially important in the old school days. During Lex Luger's early years as a wrestler, he broke this unwritten rule when he was scheduled to have a steel cage match with Bruiser Brody. Brody was the veteran and wanted to call the entire match in the ring. Luger, being new and inexperienced, wanted to have a plan and start explaining how he envisioned the match would go. This was a grave mistake. Once Luger and Bruiser Brody got into the ring, the match started out fine. Then, suddenly, Bruiser Brody stopped moving and just stood and stared at his opponent. He stopped selling Lex Luger's offense too, and both Luger and the referee weren't sure what was happening. Luger ultimately decided to hit the referee and get himself disqualified to end the match. Lex Luger quickly climbed out of the cage because he was worried that Bruiser Brody was legitimately mad. Afterward, Luger talked to Brody backstage, and the two thankfully made peace. When a wrestler gets hurt for real, that's often the moment where wrestlers will break character.
Kick out at 2.
He's hurt!
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
This is what happened during JD McDonough's WWE debut. McDonough competed in the 2017 WWE United Kingdom Championship Tournament, and his first opponent was British wrestling legend Danny Burch. The match was going smoothly until JD McDonough kicked his opponent in the back of the head. Instantly, a pool of blood had formed on the ring. Reacting fast, the referee told JD McDonough to pin Burch and end the match. Danny Burch was likely too incapacitated at the moment to hear the referee, so he kicked out. Still, the referee called the match so that Danny Burch could be given immediate medical attention. Thankfully, he was okay. But this next wrestler wasn't. The main event of the July 8th, 2002 episode of Raw featured a massive 10-man tag team match. One of those men was Kevin Nash. After standing behind the ropes for most of the match, Nash got tagged in and disaster struck. Kevin Nash had torn the quadriceps in his left leg, rendering him unable to move.
What's crazy about this was the night he returned. It wasn't like this was a few weeks after his injury, so he got put out, like, sidelined with an injury for, I don't know how long, a few months, maybe a year or so, and then earlier in Raw, he was like, "Oh, I'm here for competition. I want a match tonight." And his first singular thing he does in the match, he runs and tears his quad. So they were trying to bring him back too early, or he was trying to get in the ring too early. Whoever's fault it was. But obviously he wasn't ready. That's unfortunate. And yeah, Bubba Ray helps him out.
The wrestlers fled the ring, while Bubba Ray Dudley, one of Nash's opponents, broke character to check on his colleague. Thankfully, after a 9-month recovery, Kevin Nash was able to return to the ring. The greatest moment in WWE history, or at least the greatest OMG moment, is when The Undertaker threw Mankind off Hell in a Cell. The moment was shocking, both for fans and backstage personnel who thought Mankind, or Mick Foley, might have actually died. Several people came out to check on him, including Terry Funk. In real life, Funk and Foley were good friends, which is why Terry wanted to check on Mick. However, in storyline, the two were enemies, so it made no sense why Terry Funk was concerned about Foley. Jim Ross even tried to explain this on commentary.
And we all know that Terry Funk and Mankind professionally have not got along, but there's still got to be a bond there.
But back to The Undertaker.
Yeah.
There was a moment when WWE had gone off the air and the entire locker room tried to get Taker to perform a spin-a-rooney. To see if Undertaker did it, watch.
Okay, man, so that was another great video by Tap Out Corner. This had some interesting ones, a lot of them that I have not seen. Now, my personal opinion on a lot of these, like, some of them were touching on the wrestling being fake, and I think it's weird when you go over these semantics between, is wrestling fake, is wrestling scripted, is wrestling real, and I think it kind of, the world of pro wrestling has a very weird, like, gray zone, sort of, where you want to protect the business, and these people that call, like, discredit it by saying, wrestling's fake, right? And obviously you want to defend it, so you're saying either it's scripted, or some people are even going to say it's real because of the bumps they take. But then when you take it as real, and you get offended by these storylines, like the Undertaker, what was it, cutting his wrist or whatever, then they're like, oh, this is fake, right? So it's like, which one is it, I really think the semantics of that is really weird, but I'm assuming they had to address those for political reasons or legal reasons. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, comment below which one shocked you the most, and come subscribe to the greatest city in the world, Wrestling City. And that's about it. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.